everybody. Welcome to this special broadcast of Here for the Truth. This is a continuation of our side chat series. And for the first time, we have a guest in our side chat. It's a side chat number 5. And we have the amazing Zahra Holding here with us today. Now, Zahra is one of our earliest ever podcast listeners from way back. She's been listening. She's an incredible human being who we've stayed in touch with. She was one of the first Patreon subscribers back when we were doing the Patreon membership properly. And recently, she's been a member of our round 1 of the Rise Above the Herd group coaching program. Let me introduce you to Zahra. Zahra has dedicated the last 12 years to the art of mothering. In this time, she's birthed, nurtured, and mentored 6 free and flourishing souls. She sees herself as the constant gardener, tending to the rich and fertile soil that are her children's minds and creating space for them to grow into their full potential. This journey of motherhood has revealed to her the immense courage it takes to live a life of simplicity and authenticity. Zahra is deeply passionate about reawakening the reverence of motherhood, for all life begins in the womb and all souls are raised in a home. A mother's work is the highest work, and Zahra hopes her embodiment of this will serve as homage to the sacred and necessary task of creating and nurturing life. That is so beautiful, so well written, and so not surprising whatsoever. Zahra, welcome to the side chat.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This feels surreal.
I absolutely love your bio and I love what you stand for. And I mean, I tell Joel all the time, like you're just incredible and so grateful that our paths have crossed and really appreciate, your support throughout the last year as we've embarked on this endeavor. So thanks for making the time out of your busy schedule of mothering 6 children to chat with us.
Oh, it truly means a lot. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kick this off in original fashion. I mean, like it feels to me as though you've had a pretty incredible, rich story. You've been through a lot. You've had a lot of different experiences. You've obviously been through very different phases of awareness coming to being. What are some of the major rites of passages that you experienced in your life?
Wow, that's a big question. Major rites of passages. I think I've experienced a lot. I've experienced a lot, and it's kind of shown me that cycle of the hero's journey, that
Yeah.
you're never really there. There's always the next level, the next level. So that's been really interesting. But I think if I were to start at the beginning, it really kind of started within myself. I've just always had this innate attraction to love, to beauty, to truth.
Mm.
And no matter what obstacles or crap life put in my way, um, I was just always searching for the beauty in it, searching for the truth in it, and letting love be my compass to that. So no matter how dark it got, I could always kind of just look back down at my heart and say, okay, well, where is that pointing me? Where is that leading me? And follow that. And
Yeah.
and it's led me here.
Hmm.
Hmm. I was gonna say, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Sydney, Australia.
Hmm.
I was first generation Australian, so my parents were immigrants to Australia. My father came from Burma and my mother came from India. So, yeah, I didn't personally have a traditional upbringing necessarily, but my family were very traditional. I was brought up in a Muslim home, and so we had all that kind of religious programming very heavily in my younger years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very interesting upbringing. We would always refer to ourselves as gypsies, just move around everywhere. Like every 6 months, we're somewhere else, new home, new school. So yeah, it kind of encouraged me to find my footing within myself and not on external things like a home or a community. My family was always very important to me.
We have another conversation of three first generation individuals, both of
Yeah.
us are parents born and raised in other areas.
Yeah. Like it's so profound what you said. Like it's difficult at times to keep your heart open. There's a lot that takes place, a lot of burdens, a lot of fear, worry, scarcity, guilt, shame, all the rest of it. Like how have you found in your experience to like keep your attachment to that beacon of truth of love?
Yeah, it is very hard. And I love the saying you guys seem to say a lot of, I think it was Carl Jung, or I don't know, to reach up to heaven, you have to have your roots deep in
Yeah.
hell. And I think to experience the height of love, you have to also experience the opposite of it. And it's really hard when you're in the thick of it to notice that. I've had some very, very low times, times I didn't think I'd come back out of. And yeah, I don't really know how to explain what it is that keeps you going, that kept me going.
Yeah.
It was just, it's like my thirst for truth and love and knowing that there's something more was greater than the pain and the suffering I was going through. And
Yeah.
that's
No,
how
I hear you, and I mean it is difficult to I guess put into words, but it's the thing. Like we're even during those darker times, those difficult times. It's just this. Even no matter how diminished that seed of awareness or that light of consciousness might get, there's just a knowing that I'm not going to relinquish the truth. It's that kind of pulls you through, and I
yeah.
think so many people probably really do struggle with that aspect of it, because I mean the world can present a very dim picture at times, and it's I mean life is a complex challenge. At the end of the day, it's incredibly difficult um to I guess
Be human.
muster. Yeah, being human is difficult for sure, but to muster that strength and determination and resilience to know that you're worthy of something greater than I guess what is traditionally being offered in mainstream society. But how do you take that knowing, that awareness, and then I guess live up to it, or walk a path, despite all the burden going on around us, so to speak. It's a very interesting conversation, and it's a process that's always ongoing. Like even for myself, obviously.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
Yeah. Any comments on that, Erasmus?
No, I don't have any comments. I was gonna ask though. I'm always curious what it is, like what it is in the individual, what it is, what was it in you where you go, oh, I could experience, challenges or
Yeah.
multiple dark nights of the soul, and then still persevere, still grow, take that as fuel to be a better person, a more evolved person, a more loving person. What is it that separates one person who doesn't come out of it and another person who does? Is it just the environment you grew up in, or is there something deeper? Is it something like there's like your soul is specific, there's something unique, because we see it all the time where people grow up in the same family and
Yep.
yet one or two people go on a different path and another person doesn't, and they go on a different path, or maybe they don't come out from the gunk, or maybe their life ends early for whatever reasons, and it's like, well, you're raised by the same people, so what is that thing, like that spark, that the element of consciousness that causes a person to say, I'm going to answer the fucking call to this hero's journey. I'm going to be like the phoenix and rise out of the ashes and be this new being, this new manifestation of me, uh, and gain strength and wisdom from those challenges. It's been one of the things I'm so fascinated with, like what makes someone who they are and why. What are the motivations for them to evolve and the person that they are? What makes someone want to learn more and be all about the truth and be curious and challenge their belief systems? Like that's the shit that lights me up. I think it's fascinating. I think back to other people in my life, they just don't care as much. This is why I love human design and some of these other divination practices, because they sometimes I think can shine a light on these different elements. But anyways, I'm just curious your thought on all that. Like what is it? Like what is it in you? versus maybe other people you grew up with or other people in your family that was like, hey, I'm going to keep plugging along and I'm going to keep searching and seeking and growing and then take all those gifts and wisdom and be an amazing mother to my children.
Yeah.
Well, that's the $1,000,000 question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I've been asking myself a lot. Um, what what makes a person a person? What gives a person that drive? That makes it different to someone else who doesn't necessarily have that drive.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for anyone else. I definitely love observing people, and I have my theories on it. But just for myself, it has it has kind of felt otherworldly. It has felt like there is a pulling, a drawing coming from a space that is not kind of this realm, that can't really be described or defined. It's just something that is kind of driving you and calling you. And that's what it's kind of felt like for me. Um, I can share this one time when I was quite young, in like my early teens, and I was having a really, really in the thick of a dark night of my soul, battling with my identity. I was, disconnecting from my religion, everything that I was brought up to believe.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in a corner in my kitchen. I was just like, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going. I was calling out to God because that's the only reference point I had for anything, greater than myself. I said, if there is anything more than me, if anything is there, please just let me know. I think we all kind of have those moments, yeah.
Mhm.
But just give me a sign.
Yeah.
And this was a defining moment for me because in that moment, all of a sudden, this calm came over me, and all I heard was my own voice say in such a just matter of fact, strong, calm, gentle way, get up. And this calm just filled me, and I was like, yep, that's what I need to do. And I got up and, went about the rest of my day. And I often reflect back onto that. And the thing that stood out the most for me in that moment was that voice that was just so powerful and reassuring and knew everything that I needed to be, that voice was my own.
It was your own. Wow.
Yeah. And that, I think, is what has kind of driven me throughout all the rest of my challenges, because no matter where I've been, I have always been there with me. And yeah, I think that's how I would define what drives me
Yeah.
and what guides me.
That's incredible. I've got this quote here which I want to read out, and I'll get both of your thoughts. You probably heard it before. It's from Tom Montauk. Fortunately, some are born with spiritual immune systems that sooner or later give rejection to the illusory worldview grafted upon them from birth through social conditioning. They begin sensing that something is amiss and start looking for answers. Inner knowledge and anomalous outer experiences show them a side of reality others are oblivious to, and so begins their journey of awakening. Each step of the journey is made by following the heart instead of following the crowd, and by choosing knowledge over the veils of ignorance.
I love that quote.
Yeah, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
The words out of my mouth.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
it's true. It's like what you said. Like I don't know if I could put words to it. I don't know why. Like, what was it in me? I was always curious. I mean, anyone who's listened to the podcast or my origin story, like I was always curious. I just loved learning, and I have this innate connection to truth. Like I just want the truth. Like I'm even with the work I do and who I'm not aligned with any ideology. I don't have letters after my name. I don't work for a corporation or a company where I need to toe the company line. All I care about is the truth and the process of it. And if I find something that makes more sense, I will just okay, I'm done with that. What's the next thing? What this thing makes more sense. I'm gonna take this in more and integrate it into my life.
yeah.
So
I mean, also, I think a part of this conversation, which is so prevalent, is like having a properly integrated, healthy sense of self, because without that, you're going to get swallowed up by the crowd. You're going to get swallowed up by the propaganda. You're not going to be sure of where you stand and who you are and what your footing is. And I truly believe that some people have a stronger sense of that imperial authentic self than others. And obviously, there's ways and means to deeper connect with it. But I mean, this journey starts with loving the self, ultimately, right? This journey starts with the feeling of worthiness of existence. I am worthy of being a human being. I am here for a reason. I exist in this body for a reason. I have innate purpose and potential. I do not owe anyone else for my life. I am here. Okay, sure. What is this experience? It's difficult to explain, but am I worthy of it? Of course you are. And if you truly have that sense of worthiness, of honoring the self, then are you going to settle for the illusory? Are you going to settle for the lies? Are you going to settle for the bullshit? You know, despite what's going on. Personally, I don't think so.
Mm. No, definitely.
Yeah.
But when you love yourself and you hold yourself to a high esteem, you know, you don't settle for anything less than that from anyone else.
Yeah.
And I definitely relate to that curiosity as well, Erasmus. That's something that has driven me and still drives me. Just this kind of uh, thirst to know why, how, you know? It definitely got me in a lot of trouble as a kid. I mean, especially being raised a
Uh,
Muslim girl, that's not something that's encouraged to
no,
ask
I'm
why.
sure not at all. And yet, as a parent, well, both of you are parents. I'm curious because I had a teacher once who told me one of the most important things you can do is support and help instill curiosity in your child. You know, I mean, they have it innately, but to nurture it instead of like beat it out, which I think a lot of conventional academic systems do, because I feel like that's like part of your job is done, like to nurture that curiosity for their mind to be able to go wherever it wants to go, to be uninhibited, to explore, to take things in, to discern with their own mind, with their own reason, what works for them, as opposed to like, no, you can't think this, you can't think that, you must only think this way, this is the truth, everything else is wrong, raise your hand, do this, do that, stand in line. Like, it's just, I don't know, I just think it's for some reason that stayed with me, even though I had the condition, even though I had like amazing, but like, kind of strict Greek parents who like wanted me to be a certain way, there was something within me that was like, nah, I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit about your own journey of motherhood and how motherhood has changed you?
Yeah, for sure. Motherhood has been an amazing journey, the most difficult journey, the most rewarding journey. Um, I have always, like when I was younger, actually, I used to say I never wanted to be a mother, but that was for other reasons. But what I did always want was love. I just wanted to love all this love I had inside me. I just wanted to spread it all over the world. So when I did become a mother, it was like I just had this realization, like this is it. This is the thing that I am meant to do for the rest of my life, because I can just give myself completely, love completely to these beautiful, perfect souls. Um, and and yeah, that was my birth into motherhood. It was just ecstatic. It was beautiful. Um, and then came all the challenges. Then came all the other realizations, mainly from the external. Within myself, I was like, this is the highest work, to raise and nurture a soul, the future of humanity. Like, what could be more important than that? Um, and
I agree.
society kind of chimes in and says, well, what are you going to do for work? A career is more important than that. Or who are you other than a mother? And obviously, you as a human, you are so many things, but there's just so much in society that kind of makes a woman feel like mothering is not contributing to the value of the world in any way. And we could go into all the depths of how that has been orchestrated and why that has been orchestrated.
Yeah.
But I certainly went through those kind of battles within myself and outside of myself, as to kind of reaffirming my value and reaffirming why how I raise my kids is of value. We homeschool, we do things very, even homeschool, unschool, whatever label you want to give it. I
Yeah.
don't like labels. Um, but yeah, we do things very differently, and it's all driven, like you said, Erasmus, from what, how can we nurture them? How can I tend to their gardens, as I've said, that curiosity, their individuality, their unique purpose? How can I support them in that journey? Um, and it's difficult because they challenge you. They challenge what you think is true and right, and then their unique self comes along and says, "No, that's not for me. I want to do something else." And then you have to think, you know, is what I think right, or do I let them do this? It's very challenging task, but
Yeah.
yeah, very rewarding as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you in that regards. Is that every single human being that has ever been on this planet has been born through a woman, and so like the responsibility of that when you think about what the world has become, the challenges of the world, and the fact that motherhood hasn't been respected in the way that I think it should. I think it's a reflection of why we live in such dysfunction and chaos. Is that everything that you talk about, what it means to be a mother, like just doesn't seem to be the zeitgeist, around motherhood, for a pretty long time. I
Yeah,
find.
well, it's been diminished as a value
Hmm.
in the eyes of society, so to speak, right? But who is anyone to tell you that you can't live out your values or that you can't attain your values? If your deepest values are motherhood and mothering in a nourishing and nurturing way, then you're right to live that out as deeply as you so choose. You know, so
Mm,
it's like I think that's what gives meaning to life is the achievement and the attainment of our values. But first and foremost, we have to know what we value. And I mean, motherhood is a huge right. Here's a huge rite of passage, and it's one of the highest values, like you've said. But that level of noise, where even the value of motherhood can be diminished. Like this is what people are up against.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's just I find our society is, it likes to diminish all that's sacred, all that is sacred. And for me, in my own life experience, being a woman, becoming a mother, has been the most sacred journey that I have undertaken. Every single birth, every single cycle of myself has kind of opened a door to reveal a higher level of consciousness, a higher level of being. It's been an invitation to ascend. And I love the analogy of the phoenix,
yeah,
like burning down to ashes and rising anew. That's what motherhood has been for me, um, and it's so sacred. And so many times I was longing for that guide through this sacred valley, to have someone that not just can guide me through it, but also values it, respects it, sees, like, yes, this is sacred work. Let me show you how we have done it since the beginning of time, because it has been done since the beginning of time, or since the beginning of humanity at least.
yeah.
um, and I find that really lacking in society. I really find that lacking, and it's a shame. And I know that so many mothers feel that. So many mothers know deep inside of them this is sacred, powerful work, but they don't see that reflected in society. And so that's where that confusion and that kind of being torn comes from, I feel.
Yeah. Hmm. Beautifully said. Um, okay, let's shift a little bit to, I guess, your time in our program, Rise Above the Herd. Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, what you were feeling prior, what drew you to the course, and I guess how you feel you benefited yourself through that course?
Definitely. Well, like you said, I've been following you guys right from the beginning almost. And I really respect your work and kind of the way that you approach truth, and you just kind of radiate authenticity. And so anything that you guys kind of offered or put out, I was like, okay, I kind of want to be there. because I want to like let some of that light shine on me too. Um, and just before you guys released the course, I was, going through one of those cycles again of, I guess, self-doubt, doubting my value as a mother, as a woman. There are a lot of different things happening in life, and the last 2 years as well, just energetically, have been so depleting. So it was all kind of hitting home for me. And when you guys released your course, and also that ebook just before it, the self esteem,
Yep.
and I had a read of that, and I realized this is where I need to be. I need to be guided back into myself to reclaim my self value, my self worth, and it never kind of I never thought of it in terms of self esteem,
Mhm.
like, oh, I have a self esteem issue. But after reading your book and looking at it that way, it's like, oh, self esteem really is kind of at the crux of how we live our life, because how we value ourselves determines how we're going to act, what we're going to do, what we're going to choose. Um, so yeah, it just seemed very perfectly timed and necessary for me at that moment.
Awesome. I'm so glad that you found your way there for sure. And self-esteem is hugely important. It's something that's so misunderstood and so
Mm.
misconstrued by the majority of people. Um, so do you feel like through the program, through the course, that you were able to develop a more authentic sense of self-esteem?
Definitely, definitely. Um, yeah, the way that the course was orchestrated, it was just meticulous. As it You took us on a journey very gently, but also very kind of, some harsh truths as well,
Yeah.
on just bringing us back into ourselves. And it's just after every call, it was it was like I felt more validated in who I am. I guess more seen, not necessarily seen by anyone else, but more seen by myself.
Yeah.
That who I am mattered, and yeah, just the way that there was a lot of focus on the self, a lot of focus on one really confronting one was selfishness being a virtue. That's definitely not something that you're taught being a mum. um, that was really confronting, but very necessary as well. And I very much see the value in that, and I'm carrying that with me as we speak. Um, but yeah, just I definitely got what I wanted out of the course. Got what I wanted. I was in a low place where I did not value myself, and now I have the tools and that kind of solid grounding to know, no, I matter, and what I have is important. Who
Yeah.
I am is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when we talk about selfishness too, it does get such a negative connotation to it, but in reality, what is it but honoring yourself, and but honoring your self-interest, but your rational self-interest, based on a morality. Like, you're a mother, obviously it's in your rational self-interest to raise beautiful, loving kids. So that's part of your value system. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not like, oh well, I feel like just ignoring my kids for the next 72 hours, and even though one's 3 years old, I'm just gonna go off and jump rope and swim and fucking party all night. You know what I mean? Like, that's not very rational. So I think it gets misconstrued sometimes.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, you
For
know.
sure. And I think the thing is, like, in this culture where there's been such an attack on selfhood, on individuality, on, I mean, honoring the self, I think sometimes we have to go to such extremes almost to give ourselves that permission again. Because it's almost just like permission slips to be who we are without the tension, without the constraints, without the tightness of, oh, can I make this decision for myself? Am I filling all these quotas around me? Am I meeting everyone's expectations? And that's where this whole concept of altruism, of this idea that we are only vessels to give to other people, and that the only morality is in giving to someone else, is somehow what makes the self. I think that's the primary deprogramming that we really wanted to address, because it happens all around us. We're programmed to believe that our worth is only in what we can offer to someone else. And now there's of obviously profound beauty and reward in offering to someone else. But if that's the case, it's a value. It's what you've chosen, as in your rational self-interest. But what we see around us are people depleted, people that are afraid to give to themselves, are afraid to fill their own cups, are afraid to put themselves first. And then we have this entire society which says, "Help me, I'm stuck. I'm not living what I thought that inner child within me really wanted to live up to. I feel as though I'm in this state of mediocrity. I feel as though I'm not worthy of living out my dreams, living out my potential." And we ask the question, why? But it's such a crime to me that so many of us feel guilty simply for doing something that we love, or for filling our own cup, or for nourishing our own souls.
Mm, definitely. And I think you definitely said the key word there, shame.
Yeah.
I think so many people walk around ashamed of themselves, ashamed of who they are. So of course, to be told that you can be yourself or that you can give to yourself is such a confronting thought, because the idea of self is just so shameful, so scary. And I love that in the course, you both really encouraged us to face that mirror onto ourselves and to see who we are, what do we value, and then from that, everything that we have in our life has been our doing all along. The power has always been in our hands.
Yeah.
It's just about reclaiming that, recognizing that, and
Yeah.
using that to our own self advantage.
Yeah. And that nothing else is possible unless you honor your life,
Mm.
unless you honor yourself. Nothing else is possible to you. If you're not surviving, if you're not nourished, if you're not thriving, how is anything else available to you? But it's just that escapes us to some level. So yeah.
And so much of that shame is unconscious, and people give and overgive as a overcompensatory mechanism, to compensate for that shame. Oh, well, if I do all this, then I have value, even though internally I don't feel like I have value. But I'm doing all this, and then people pat me on my back and say, "Oh, thank you so much. You're such a good person. You're such a good person. Oh, I have value." But then when I look in the mirror, like consciously or subconsciously, I'm like, I don't have value. I don't value myself. I don't love myself. I don't like myself.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that works hand in hand.
Yeah. And it's like they have to give a certain amount for them to feel okay about giving to themselves.
Mm, yeah, that too.
Yeah. Hmm. And
So let's. Oh,
okay.
no, you go.
There you go.
Well, I was going to say, so I'm just curious, as a mother of 6 and, being an independent, free thinking woman and, going through the program and realizing like the honoring of self, like how do you navigate and how do you communicate? Because, have kids of different ages. So there's something about like obviously being there for your children. And are there times where you need to set a boundary and communicate and be like, well, this is mommy's time, like how do you navigate that?
Good question.
Yeah, yeah, that's been a journey. That's been a journey because I obviously have children at very varying ages. So my eldest is turning 17 in a few weeks, and my youngest is 1.
Whoa.
But obviously, you can't really communicate that to a 1-year-old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She's still very much attached, and a lot of that just comes down to me taking that self responsibility. Like this is I value being a mother. I value being there for my children, and my children need me to be there for them at different levels and in different ways.
Yeah.
So for me to kind of replenish myself or give to myself, it's I guess it's about in my mind. I'm like, okay, I have to put this on the list of something I value. I value spending time with Leela. I value doing this with Valentina. And so I put that on the list and I make sure I get it done. And I need the list in my mind. I need to kind of make sure I always put on, okay, I value spending time with myself.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
what am I doing today that is giving to myself in that way? And sometimes that means I have to get up earlier and do it in the morning, or wait till after they've gone to bed. But I've often found as long as it's just a conscious act of giving to myself, It could even be just making myself a lovely tea and sitting and drinking it outside in the sun. That's one conscious act that is just solely for myself. The kids can be around me doing whatever, but I'm still giving to myself. It could be the other day, I just kind of went and had a shower by myself. There's always someone in there usually. Went and did that, and then did some qigong, just connected to my body, connected to my breath. And that was so grounding and nourishing. I think so often we think it has to be some big grand thing,
Yep.
that self-care and self-love and connecting to yourself has to be like you have to have the candles, the special mat, the special lights, everything, but it's just about, for me, I found it's just about seizing the moment and being conscious and aware of yourself and giving love to yourself. Just simple. I like to just keep things simple.
You hit the nail on the head there. I think for so many people, that's like, well, I have to work out for 4 hours and I have to meditate for 2 hours and I have to do all these things. And it's like the simple act of making tea for yourself and sitting outside, let's say for 10 minutes and being with yourself and
Mm,
just being aware of your breath and noticing it going in and going out and noticing the subtle sensations in your body and connecting to yourself in that deep way
mhm,
is huge. Because when you think about it, so often we don't do any of that. So,
mm,
like, again, if I were to live, if I were to give to myself or live more consciously 5% more, what would that be? It could be a simple, I made a cup of tea for myself. I walked into the bathroom and I just kind of like took some time to just notice what was going on in my body, to pay attention to my breathing patterns. Like that alone can alter the course of a person's day.
100%.
mm.
Just to do something intentionally, you know? Yeah.
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 Mm.
Living life intentionally, like it's that I think is what makes that massive difference from your life just kind of being, having no meaning, no purpose, no direction, feeling unfulfilled, and then just suddenly being intentional. Like it's everything is the same, but now you are present. Now you are noticing yourself, your
Yeah.
breath, your movement, your thought. You're noticing the people around you. You're noticing the colors. You're noticing things. And suddenly life becomes so much more vibrant and potent.
Mm.
And you have more opportunities that you can seize. And yeah, when I said before in my bio about the simplicity, like I really mean that. It's like we don't need to overcomplicate the value of life. The simplest of things can bring us value.
You know what I love too in the program, and it was such a powerful moment when you just like, not that you hadn't before, but when you really were like, I'm a fucking mother and I'm a badass mother and I'm owning that. You know what I mean? Like even something like that, to just own who you are, to own the values that you have, and something that you would think would just be like, oh yeah, I'm a fucking mother. But like to really own that and the value that it is, like that was just so cool. Like I loved it when you were just like, fuck yeah, I'm not apologizing anymore. I'm a mom and I'm badass and that's my gift. And I was put on this planet to be an awesome mother and an awesome nurturer, and I'm gonna keep doing it. Fuck yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That thank you for reminding me of that moment. That was amazing. That is amazing. And
Because
that's what this course has revealed to me. It's really given me that opportunity to just reclaim that about myself. Nothing that I didn't know, nothing that wasn't already there, but it's just it can be just drowned out by all the crap.
yeah. It's the day-to-day stuff, and then sometimes we have those moments where we can like reclaim ourselves, stake our flag in the ground of who we are and what we stand for and what our gifts are, and just fully own it and not apologize for it.
Mm,
And that's the big reason why Joel and I created, Rise Above the Herd. It's like, fuck, like be the most badass individual you can be. Own it fully. Don't need to apologize anymore for your existence, for who you are, for how you want to live, for the fact that maybe you're different than your family members or your friends. And it's like, oh, I should stay small. I should apologize. I shouldn't speak my truth. I just Now again, there's discernment, there's a time and a place for everything, but like to really be solid in who you are and just live it, like it's so freeing, it's so awesome, it's so beautiful. talk about like having less burdens, like the burden of not being yourself and knowing on some level that you're not being yourself or not doing the things that that deepest part of you knows you should be doing. Fuck. That's a heaviness to live with,
Betrayal.
in my opinion.
It's self-betrayal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, this has been a freaking awesome conversation. Zahra, love you so much. So glad that we were connected and you found the podcast, and I mean the journey has unfolded the way it has for the three of us, really. This I'm assuming that this popped your podcast cherry as well. Is that right? It's your first podcast?
Oh yes.
Awesome.
This is amazing.
Awesome. Well, happy for that as well.
Joel, I'm offended by your use of the term.
Cancelled, Joel.
You're canceled.
We'll get Ryan to edit that part out.
Yeah, no, but it's really cool. Like when you see like what happens when you choose. Like Joel and I, we're a couple straight G's, a couple dudes that were just like, yo, let's come together. We honor each other. We honor we have similar value system. Let's do a thing. Let's sit down, press play, and start talking and see what happens. And then somehow the podcast came into your lap. I still have no idea how it came into your lap, and here we are. Here we are around a year later. Like it's one of my favorite things of life. What happens when you make a choice to do something and do something differently than you've done before, and what can unfold from that, especially when you're guided from a deep, authentic place.
Yeah,
my life's changed. Like I can't even. If you told me 15 months ago that this would be my life, I would probably be like, nah, I'll probably be doing other stuff, be doing my readings and body work and all that. But like to meet Joel, a brother, and to align in the ways that we align and to create a platform, like it's the coolest thing. And to connect with you, oh my God, and everyone else, it's been awesome. Like what a blessing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the magic that can happen, hey, when people just follow their true authentic calling.
Yeah. And even like the hate people have on technology, like, okay, I don't want to be around it all the time, but because of technology, we're able to be here as well. So I don't want to lose sight of that and just be this like purist and be like, I never want to use a device. I'm going to go live in the woods. Okay, sure. People can choose to do that, but I'd like to utilize technology for its gifts and maybe leave the limitations behind as best as I can.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Zahra, we'll give you a final question here.
Okay.
If you had all of social media at your disposal, every social media user on the planet would read a single message from you. What would that message be?
Wow. Oh gosh. I don't know if I'm going to make this one as profound as Xavier did. A single message. I guess maybe what I like to tell my kids all the time, which is you are perfect exactly as you are. Who you are is everything that you're meant to be. So just go out there and be that.
Wow. I feel like that was a universal mother just gave the world a hug just then. I love it so much. Zahra, you're amazing. Keep doing your thing. Keep speaking your truth. Keep living your truth. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to unfold on your journey. I've got absolutely no doubt about that. Guys, thanks for listening to this side chat, and we'll see you back on the main show next week.
Smoking mirrors, I'm seeing through the illusion. Waking up in a time, they think you're in a delusion. Somebody set the alarms, cause they be too busy snoozing. I'm in a DeLorean, fast forward in evolution to a place where we can share our confusions. Yeah, 450 BC, I'm sharing to you.